Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today we are going to discuss about Insight into Program Execution Part 2. So last session we were discussed about introduction about Insight into Program Execution. What is source code, how the source code is converted into machine level language with the help of translators. So we were also discussed about two types of translators, one is interpreter, another one is compiler, and we were discussed about the basic flow of compilation as well as understanding translation process. In today's session we are going to discuss about role of an operating system while executing a program, as well as OS as a resource manager, how it going to handle all the resources in our computer, and functions of OS like process management, process scheduling, memory management and IO management. We will discuss one by one in the next slides. Role of an operating system in running a program. Once a program is turned to executable form, they can be run by computer independently, and the executable program runs on computer with the help of the operating system. The operating system has a major role to play in the execution of the program in executable forms. So in earlier days and all, we have the computer which can used to run only one program at a time, but nowadays we have the computers with the capability of running multiple programs, and it can have the capability to handle multiple users at a time. So thus the role of an operating system in running a program is much more complex, and it is very much important nowadays. So let us see the role of an operating system while executing a program. OS as a resource manager. So here the program is in a static state is known as the program, and in running state it is known as a process. So here the moment the program is loaded for running or executing, it is called the process. Sometimes it can be called as jobs. So here the multiple programs are undoubtedly improves the overall efficiency of the computer system by getting more work done in the less time, as the CPU may be shared among the number of active programs which are present in the memory at the same time. So while CPU is executing a job, it has to wait if the job requires certain IO operation. So in this, the CPU waits for the IO operation to get override. That particular waiting time is called as CPU idle time. So what an operating system does is that in place of making the CPU sit idle, it loads another job for the CPU. That is, another job takes over the use of CPU, increasing the efficiency, thereby and reducing CPU idle time. So the measure of the system's efficiency is calculated with the help of throughput. The throughput is nothing but number of jobs done divided by time taken. So we can say that by loading multiple processors, the operating system improves the overall performance of the computer systems. When multiple processors are running simultaneously, it is important to manage them. For this purpose, this OS provides the following functions like a process management, process scheduling, memory management and IO management. We will briefly discuss in the next coming slides. Process management. When a program needs to be executed, it will approach the OS. The process scheduler of the OS loads the particular program into the memory, and it becomes a process which is executed as per its instructions as soon as the processor or CPU is assigned to it. So here we have some steps how this conceptual mapping of memory will occur for the particular process. So here the first point is the one region in the memory holds the compiled code of the program. Every instruction, every function of the program starts at a particular address, that is in the program code block. And second one, the next region is the memory area where the global variables of the program are stored, and the global variables remain in the memory as long as the program continues. And third block, that is nothing but your stack. So stack which going to use for many greater things while your program executes. The stack is used for holding the return addresses at function calls and argument passed to the functions and local variables for the function. The local variables remain in the memory as long as the function continues, and after that they are erased from the memory. The stack also stores the current state of the CPU. the heap memory region of the free memory from which chunks of memory are allocated by a process. That is dynamic memory allocation function. Process management states when a program is ready to be executed, it is loaded in memory, that is start, and it becomes an active process. An active process passes through different states. These are start state, ready state, running state, waiting state, and terminated or exit state. In case of start state, this is the initial state when a process is first started or created by loading the program in memory. And in case of ready state, when a program is loaded in the memory, it becomes a process, right? So, and it is ready to be executed. Has to wait for the particular CPU. That is, the CPU might be executing other processes or jobs to it, has to wait for its turn on CPU. This is the ready state of the process. And in case of running state, once the process gets CPU time, the CPU starts executing the instruction of the process. Now the process state becomes running state. And next one, waiting state. If during execution the process has to wait for some resources, right? So such waiting for a user input or waiting for a file to become available, then the CPU takes up the next process, that is in ready state, waiting for a CPU, and current process state becomes the waiting state. So once it gets its required resource, input or file, etc., its state will again be changed to ready state so that the CPU can pick it up again and continue with its execution. And last one is terminated or exit state. Once the process, all the instructions are successfully executed and it has to complete its execution, or it is terminated by the operating system. In either case, its state is changed to terminated state. The process that has terminated state is removed from your main memory. Process management, in that we are going to discuss about process control block. So the operating system manager maintains a data structures called PCB, that is process control block, to manage a process. The operating system maintains a PCB for every process. As soon as the process is initiated and loaded in memory, it is given an ID called process ID and its PCB is created. So the PCB maintains the information needed to keep track of all the process, various type of information that the PCB contains in it listed. Okay, so for example, it is going to maintain the process ID, process state, process privileges, pointer, program counter, and CPU registers. And it also going to handle some scheduling and accounting information. So the process ID is nothing but it is a unique identification number given to the process by the operating system. And the process state is nothing but it stores the current state of a process, that is whether it is a ready or running or a waiting state. And process privileges, so it stores the information about the access privileges given to the particular process for various system resources. Example, if the process can use specific memory or not, whether the IO device it can be accessible or not. So like that it will have the privilege information. And next one is a pointer. The process can create sub-processes. In such cases, the pointer stores the details about the parent process of the current process or sub-process. The program counter is nothing but it going to stores the address of the next instruction to be executed for this particular process. And CPU registers, it stores the information about various CPU registers which the process can use for execution. And next one we have the scheduling and accounting information, which will use to keep details related to the process, such as its links to the memory allocated, its priority details, how much CPU time this particular process used to, so far like that. Okay, so these are the process control block. So how CPU executes the instruction of the ready state. So far we have discussed, right, what is process, what are the different state of process, and what is PCB and all. So now how the CPU execute the instruction of a ready state. Okay, so here the program is loaded in memory and the control unit is there. Now the control unit brings first instruction of the program, that is nothing but fetch the instruction, and the control unit now determines what type of instruction is this, like that is whether it requires any mathematical work or logical work, or it's simply going to read something from memory or input device, or whether it want to write something to the memory or output device, etc. So that will be taken care by your control unit. If the instruction involves a mathematical or logical work, then the control unit instructs ALU to carry out. What is ALU? Is arithmetical logical unit, which will carry out your mathematical or logical work. And once it has been executed, or if the instruction involves simple read or write memory, then CU directly instruct the memory or input device or output device to carry out this one. So this execute the instruction is nothing but if the particular instruction need to do something with the mathematical work, it will call the ALU to perform it, or if it requires any simple read or write information from the memory, directly it will instruct the memory to do it. Okay, and next one, ALU. So ALU, which produces some results after performing some logical and mathematical operation, that will be stored in your main memory, that is called as store the result. And last one, for the next instruction in the program, again that a step 2 to 4 will be carried out. So the fetch, decode and the execute cycle is also called as instruction cycle. Process scheduling by operating system. So here we know that the many programs stores together in the system memory, and it is very difficult to manage these processes. So we need to consider some points when doing our process scheduling. So which process will get CPU time, which process will be deleted from CPU, which process is to be shifted for IO operation, and how to handle an interruption, and once the interruption has been occurred, how to give the highest priority and all. So this task will be taken care by your OS process scheduler. The process scheduler is an activity of the process manager in which the process manager removes the running process from the CPU and selects the next process. The interrupt is a signal generated by the hardware or software to the CPU, indicating a highest priority event that needs immediate attention. Process scheduling strategies. Since all the loaded processes have to be shared by CPU, the process scheduler decides upon a strategy called scheduling algorithm, which helps it determine which process will get the CPU time. For example, some scheduling strategies are discussed here, like first come first serve basis, round robin scheduling, smallest job first scheduling. The first one, first come first serve basis, the process entering first in the queue gets the CPU first. In case of round robin scheduling, every process is given with a fixed amount of time on the CPU, which is called as a time slice, say n milliseconds. If the process is over during that time, the process is terminated. Otherwise, that its state is changed into waiting state, and the next ready process will given the CPU time for the designation amount of time. And the shortest job first, the CPU picks the next job that will take shortest time out of all the ready processes and many more. So these are some of the scheduling strategies, and here the idea is to just to tell that OS follows some strategy to determine which process will get the CPU, like that. In short, you can say that the loaded processors share the CPU using some time multiplexing mechanism. So the process scheduler maintains some process scheduling queues like job queue, ready queue and device queue. The job queue will keep all the initiated process in the system, and ready queue, this queue has all the processes with ready state and waiting to execute. A new process always put in the ready state. And next one is your device queues. The process which are waiting to use an IO device are added to the device queue. So here the picture is given, right? So the first one, the job queue will be here. So the job queue will initiate will keep track of all the initiated job processes in the system, and the ready queue will the particular the newly initiated process will be always in the ready state, Okay, and device queues which going to perform the, like whether if the particular process needs any IO operation like that. Okay, the based on that device requirement it will be changed. So memory management, so it is a part of the OS, very important part, and it is everything whichever is belong to the particular process has to be loaded into the memory, right? So the memory manager performs these functions, like it going to keep tracks of all memory location regardless of either it is allocated or it is not allocated or it is free, and next it is going to maintain and checks how much memory is to be allocated to the process and how it is to be deallocated. Okay, and decides which process will get memory at what time, and keeps track of whenever some memory gets freed or unallocated, and corresponding it updates available memory, allocated memory, etc., and which also ensures the safety of data in the memory allocated to the process so that other running processes do not get hold of this data. And we have some memory management techniques like a single memory allocation, partitioned memory allocation, paged memory allocation, and segmented memory allocation. We will discuss in the next slide. Memory management techniques. The memory manager allocates memory to processes to load their data and files, etc., using different strategies like a continuous memory allocation and a non-contiguous memory allocation or virtual memory allocation. Some common memory management techniques are briefly discussed, right? So single memory allocation. So very simplest memory management technique in which the available free memory is allocated to single application at a time. This means only one application runs at a time and other application will get a hold of memory only after the running application is over. And partitioned allocation, in this technique the memory management, the primary memory is divided into different and usually contiguous area of memory called partitions. A running application is allocated one or more partitions depending upon its processing requirement. And third one is your paged memory management, that is the primary memory is divided into fixed size units called page frames or simply pages. Running application is allocated some number of pages for its working depending upon its processing requirement. And last one is a segmented memory management. In this memory management technique, the memory management is divided into logical units called segments. The segments may not be contiguous in physical memory, but logically different chunks of memory may belong to one segment. The running application is allocated some segments depending upon its processing requirement. IO management. Whenever a process requires some IO, the IO management part of OS take care. And the role of an IO manager of the OS is to connect the process to actual input-output device through some strategies. The IO manager sends the IO request to the physical device, and upon receiving a response from the device, it passes the received response to the process. So during the time the process is with IO manager, the CPU keeps on working with other ready processes. So some exercise questions I have given here. How is the process different from program? What is PCB? What is its role? What is process scheduling? What are process scheduling queues? How does OS manage all the running processes? What is the role of memory manager and IO manager of the OS? Just go through the slides and find the answer. With this we come to the end of chapter number 4. Thank you students.